All right, everybody, we are now online, so let's get started here. Who would like to start our check-in? I see Rob's talking, so Kerr, you can start.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kerr Fazone. I'm fine. I'm chief negotiator for the union. No time constraints tonight. I believe it's just Mario, right?
Mario and Christina's on her way. Tina's on her way.
And Tina's on her way. But yeah, Mario will not be with us tonight.
Mario will not be. Okay.
It sounds so macabre.
I have no expectation. I'm sorry, no elephants. My expectation is to make lots of friends. No expectations.
We get to that point sometimes.
My name is Kevin Daly. I'm the president of TALC. I am fine. I have no time constraints. I believe Kerr handled who's missing, and it's pachydermish problem. So I just want to read an email I got from an employee over the weekend. Well, Kevin, so much for your words of reassurance about getting paid on the 28th. Every teacher I know is irate with TALC and its role it played in prolonging us from receiving compensation for hours we worked. Once lost, trust is difficult to get back, sadly, a TALC member. So I think we're going to have to start tonight with discussions of the people who didn't get paid today for coverage they did. A couple of bargaining sessions ago, I was asked directly if I wanted to delay payment to the 28th. I said yes, because it would be accurate and done one time. I lost members because of that, and I'm sure that when people called here, they rightfully said Kevin made a decision not to pay anybody until the 28th, because that's what I did. The next bargaining session, people said they could be paid on the 28th. The 28th is today. People have not been paid. People are calling the district. The district is still blaming TALC. I'm not sure where the miscommunication is. Now I know what you'll tell me. Oh, they were late submissions. When did they get the spreadsheet? I know when we approved it. We approved it in labor management in early February. If they got the spreadsheet on the 21st and the deadline is the 23rd, and some principal secretaries had to put in hundreds of requests, is it the principal secretaries have to have it back by the 23rd, or does payroll need to continue to finish processing it by the 23rd? Because if that's the case, really either case, probably already knew it wasn't going to get done. Also, was there overtime authorized so payroll people could spend the extra time and get compensated to put it in? Was there payroll authorized for principal secretaries? So the ones I spoke to worked all weekend to try to get it done. We're going to talk tonight about priorities and what we do and what we prioritize. The turnaround school recommendation is going to look extremely different than it did last time we met. And it's because the district only prioritized $2.8 million for that project. Everybody who wanted to see the Tier 3 schools covered, sorry, $2.8 million. ESSER money, sorry, $2.8 million. So 2.8 gets you what you get. Priorities. We're also going to talk about the $4,000, and I'm going to throw up a spreadsheet that my limited ability was able to gather from information you, as a district, submitted to the state around your budget and what you actually spend. In one key area, salaries. One for instructional and one for school-based administrators. And we will see over the past 4 years solidly and a 5th year projected how you almost always over budget by 30-something million dollars. And last year it was $52 million. So again, we've got the money. I handed Will the settlement for Sarasota today. We can talk about that too. That's exciting for them. Got the money. So those are my elephants and pretty much what I'm going to say for the majority of the night. Expectations are to make a lot of progress.
So this elephant is not going to keep you from making that progress?
It's not going to keep me from that progress.
Okay. Jill?
Hi, I'm Jill Castellano. I am a PCT at Varsity Lakes Middle, and I'm also the Vice President of TALC. I'm doing okay. I'm exhausted. I spent a lot of time working on redeveloping our turnaround recommendation last week with our team, so we're all pretty kind of burnt from that. We've already talked about who's missing. I don't have any elephants, and my expectation is make lots of progress.
Good evening, I am Anna Witten. I am doing fine. I am a third grade teacher at Colonial Elementary as well as the secretary for TALC. I have no time constraints, missing's been noted, no elephants, and my expectation is make lots of progress.
Good evening, my name is Samantha Hauer. I'm a peer collaborative teacher at Harns Marsh Middle School. I am okay. I have no time constraints, missing has been noted, no elephants, and I would also like to make a lot of progress.
Good afternoon, my name is Shay Pearson. I'm a testing coordinator at Island Coast High School. I'm also the treasurer of TALC. I'm doing fine. I have no time constraints, missing has been noted. I have no elephants, and I'd also like to make a lot of progress.
Hello, my name is Amy Johnson. I am a 6th grade language arts teacher at Mariner Middle School. I am doing well. I have no time constraints other than the 7 o'clock time. Missing has been noted. I have no elephants, and my expectations make lots of progress.
Good afternoon. My name is LaShonda Hutchins Cologne, and I am the math coach at Franklin Park Elementary. I have no time constraints, missing is noted. I have no elephants, and my expectations are also to make lots of progress.
Good evening. My name is Iris Grimaldi. I'm a school social worker. I'm doing okay. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted. No elephants, and my expectation is to make lots of progress.
Good evening, my name is Bob Scapatullo, and I'm doing fine. No time constraints. I teach at Three Oaks Middle School. I'm also on area coordinator with TALC. Missing is noted, no elephants, and my expectation would be to prioritize.
Good evening, my name is Louis Fisher. I'm the director of bands at Gateway High School. A little tired, but I'm okay. No time constraints, missing has been noted, no elephants, and expectations make progress.
I'm Tara Sherman. I'm the school counselor at Raymond C. Page Elementary. I'm doing great. No time constraints. Missing is noted. No elephants. Expectation is to make progress.
Not working?
That's fine. Hello? Okay. That's weird. Oh, you have to turn that off. So we can't talk at the same time. Hi, I'm Robert Dodig. I am well. I don't have any time constraints. Christine Schroed is going to be late. She'll be here, I think, around 4:30. Do not have any elephants, and my expectation would be to make lots of progress.
I'm Will Rothenberg. I'm doing well. No time constraints. Missing is noted. No elephants. And expectation, make lots of progress.
Good evening. I'm Heather Leonard. I'm doing well today for a Monday.
I don't have any time constraints except our 7 o'clock. I believe the missing have already been noted. No elephants, and I'd like to make lots of progress tonight.
Hi, I'm Kelly Letcher. I'm fine, no time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, and expectation to make lots of progress.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Hutchins. I'm good. No time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, and make lots of progress.
I'm Carl Burnside. I'm doing okay. I have no time constraints. Who's missing's been noted. I'm going to just be candid and say I'm feeling an elephant now. And it's because, you know, I was frustrated about 6 weeks ago when we started talking about this and trying to get it done because I was looking at it from my teacher's perspective. And I knew that as different phases with this is something new, that the longer we waited, the closer we got to March, that people would be more on edge, which is typical of any school year, let alone this school year. So I'm feeling that because I don't really feel like that I'm being admonished about something that I really talked about, I was really concerned about. So the reaction is not about pointing fingers, whatever, but really I'm kind of pointing one back because 6 weeks ago I talked about this to try to avoid this because I knew that teachers were flustered. And so and so whenever you get to something where it gets real close to a timeline, like what we ended up doing, I invariably, and it's not about paying people overtime. Sometimes my wife would tell me, I don't care about that, I just need a break. So I'm feeling that. I just want to be honest and candid.
And can we move on to the meeting, Carl?
Well, this is what, yeah, I mean, because what I don't want to do, and this is the way it's been building for me for a while, because I've been, like I said, I've been approaching this from the teacher perspective, this issue, for about 3 months, actually. You know, because knowing that this would happen. So actually, it's part of all of us. And so we can wait till later. I don't want to slow it down, but I just had to say it because this has sort of been simmering with me for a while.
Good afternoon, I'm Bonnie. I'm doing well. I do have a time constraint of 5:30. My daughter has an award ceremony this afternoon, and I'm really excited about it. I think who's missing has been noted. I do not have any elephants. An expectation, make lots of progress.
I'm Shannon Johnston. I'm doing good. Time constraints, I don't have any. Missing has been noted, no elephants. And expectation is to make lots of progress.
Good afternoon, I'm Ben Osman. I'm great. I have no time constraints. Missing is noted. I have no elephants, and the expectation be to make a lot of progress.
I'm Rachel Gould. I'm okay. No time constraints. Missing noted. No elephants, and make progress.
Jessica Duncan from Student Services. I'm doing good. I have no time constraints. Missing is noted. No elephants. And my expectation is to make progress.
Mike Gatewood, I'm doing good. I have no time constraints. Missing is noted. No elephants. Expectation, make lots of progress.
Hi, I'm Suzette Rivera. I'm doing well. No time constraints. Missing has been noted. No elephants, and my expectations are to make lots of progress.
Amy French, I'm doing well. I don't have any time constraints. Missing is noted. I don't have any elephants, and expectations are to make lots of progress.
And hello, everyone. I'm Donna. I'm doing well. No time constraints. Missing noted. No elephants, and expectations is I'll be making lots of progress this evening. All right, just give us a second to get paperwork ready, and then, according to everybody, this is our last scheduled meeting for TALC, so although we want to make lots of progress, we thought maybe we need to schedule a few more sessions. So any suggestions? I know, just so everybody knows, SPELC is scheduled for the 7th, the 10th, and the 15th, right? Of March. So those days are already out, March 7th, March 10th, and March 15th. Sure.
Can we look at Monday, March 14th?
Monday, March 14th. That work? Rob, it works? I have mine on. Okay. March 14th, 1. What else? Any other dates?
The next week is spring break, right?
Yes, the next week is spring break. And as I said, the 15th spell is scheduled.
So then is the next date the 28th?
March 28th.
Sorry. Is there any desire to bargain during spring break?
No.
Oh. Okay. Kevin has his hand up.
We could always bargain during the day, as long as my team is released from their schools. We don't necessarily have to be tied to the 4 to 7 thing. Jill said the 18th is a work day, so.
Everyone knows during the day.
Yeah, our principals may have issues being here. Oh, the 18th.
The 18th is a non-student day, I believe.
March 18th?
What's that, Carl? It's a Friday.
I'm thinking like 1 to 3 or something. Or like 12:30 to 3 or
March 18th looks okay?
And Rachel, you guys okay with that? Okay. 1 to what? 1 to 4?
1 to 4?
Well, Will and I have a standing meeting at 9 that day, every Friday. I mean, I could do it like 10:30.
Morning, 10:30? Jill?
So Rob,
Yeah.
the struggle with that is, for us, it's a teacher work day, 8:30 to 3:30, and I know a lot of
Oh,
teachers
okay.
get there early, but that's a great
Yeah.
day, and sometimes focus is slow, or you get a last minute assignment from a student. So I think most people, if it's available for TALC, would be more comfortable later in the day to do that, so that if they're trying to finish up any last minute, like I said, that night
So-
before, I could get 50 assignments.
So 1 to 3:30, does that work?
1 to 3:30?
I think so.
Some issues.
Okay. Yeah,
3:30?
on the 18th.
Okay. More days?
The 28th, I think they said.
28th? Want to schedule for the 28th from 4 to 7?
Sure.
Yes.
Any more, or leave it at that?
That's 3 seconds.
What was that? It was 7. Donna, what were the hours on the 18th?
4 to 7. 18th, 1 to 3:30. Kevin?
Oh, hang on. Yeah, hang on.
April 4th.
What about April 4th?
No, April 4th is FSA rights.
Oh, no, all right, April 4th is FSA rates, so.
What about, I know we have the 28th, but what about the 31st also, like Thursday of that week also?
March 31st?
I won't be here just because I've missed a lot of my last period class this year for bargaining, and I teach ELA, so I need to be there for them that last week before the test, so I won't be here.
March 31st for everybody else? Okay. Rob?
Yeah, no, we're good. I proposed it.
Okay, is that okay? All right, I think that's okay. March 31st, 4 to 7?
That's a Thursday. So what are the dates up there?
All right, so we have March 14th, Monday, March 14th from 4 to 7. Friday, March 18th from 1 to 3:30. Monday, March 28th from 4 to 7. And Thursday, March 31st from 4 to 7. Leave it at those 4? All right, everybody okay with that? I know some of you can't make it to some of the sessions. I haven't checked my calendar. I might not make it to some of the sessions, but we'll see what happens. All right, great. So, we did have a couple of elephants. Are we going to discuss that MOU now? Bob?
We have to approve minutes.
Do we have minutes?
Yeah.
Oh.
We do.
All right. I'm getting used to
Just like a
not.
good teacher, I would like to say thank you for getting them to us in the most timely fashion.
All right, so the minutes are from what date?
February 15th.
All right, February 15th minutes. Do we have any changes or additions to those minutes? Kurt?
I have a few grammatical things that I'll just email to Will, but one thing I had a question about was page 5 of 19, right before the test for consensus. I'm not sure what that bullet there is trying to say.
What page is that? I'm sorry.
5 of 19.
You're referring to the one that starts with the straw design is?
Yes.
I don't know, I'd have to go back and read that. It's not making sense to me either.
You say test for consensus, that's what we're asking about?
So right above test for consensus, it reads, the straw design is, goes on from there.
All right, anybody have any ideas? All right, and he's going to email the grammatical changes. Bob?
That's what I had.
Go ahead if you want.
Yeah, I mean, mine are all grammatical errors, and I think it might be probably faster doing it this way than it would be to email. Page 1, the fifth bullet, where it says, "Thank you in advance for everyone's patience as we work on put out." It should be putting out official communication, I'm kind of imagining. Page 9. Did you get that one, Will? The first one? Okay. Page 9, bullet number 1, the word "it's." It's there twice. It should be ITS without the apostrophe. Bullet 2 on the same page, 9. That was shared mainly as a interest and interest. And bullet 9 on that same page, where it says, we did eventually share with the committee the school's names. It's another, just a grammatical error. Page 10, third bullet from the bottom. Typically, the committee has already heard, I'm sure that should say heard and not hear. That was page 10, third bullet from the bottom. It says, has already heard, it should say heard, I would imagine. And page 12, the 6th bullet, where it says teachers are compensated at a high rate than support staff. I would imagine that probably means higher rate. And page 13 in the caucus, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th sentence up where it says important, just spelled wrong. And page 15, second bullet, the word it's. And then the third bullet from the bottom on that same page says July 1st, 2022. Don't we wish? Page 16, the fourth bullet down, where it says, if you told me we have $20 million to spend and here's the parameters, then would, could, have, cost, things. I don't know what that means.
Probably we could have.
Yeah. And then the 8th bullet down, page 16. The word its limitations, again, just a spelling error. And I know that those are all grammatical, but I think that would be faster doing it that way than emailing all of those. Thank you.
All right, I need one more. Anna, wait a minute, Anna, your hand up. I get one more. Anna. The light's coming.
Well, it's not matching up, right?
I have, my page numbers are different than Bob's page numbers, but my page 17, which is just a little further down than the last one, it says we develop a system that was equitable. It should be we developed. That's all I have.
All right, anybody else? Corrections, deletions. All right, can we accept the February 15th minutes with those corrections, deletions, and if something wasn't covered that you have, Kerr, you'll just send it? All right, can I see thumbs, please? Can I see thumbs? All right, that's great. February 15th minutes have been accepted. Do we have any other minutes? Anna?
We have February 7th minutes. The last ones I have are January 28th.
Had we not approved those previously?
You have them, Bob? Yeah.
No. You did receive them though.
No.
No, you haven't?
No.
February 7th?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go back and look. I thought we had gotten them all out.
All right, any others missing? Okay. Before we get started on the MOU, I saw Christina and Christine come in. So with Christina, you want to check in? I'm getting the cheat sheet, so.
I'm Christina Starrett. I am hanging on by a thread today. I have no other time constraints other than I was late. Who's missing is noted, no elephants, expectations. Make some progress, please.
Thank you. And Christine.
Hi, Christine Schroed. I'm doing expectations.
right. Are we ready to proceed to the class coverage MOU? Kevin?
When will full payment happen? Because again, I've been getting texts from people and they tell me it's like a 5-step process. So if you gave people a spreadsheet to start inputting on the 18th or whatever, and it needed to go through a 5-step process before it was put in a check, there was no possible way it was going to be paid on the 28th. So when can we expect full payment for arrears?
Yeah. I could have. Anyway, we're not sure what the 5-step process is. It has to go through the typical supplemental payment approval process. So I'm not sure. Who's telling you that, Kevin?
Sorry, it was 4 steps. Employee approval, manager approval, personnel approval, payroll approval.
So the brain trust down there can help me out, but from what I understand, the only one that has to go through staffing is the semester-long coverage, not daily coverage. Is that accurate? Yeah.
Okay. Any other? Okay.
So the question,
So if a supplement was put on February 18th by the principal secretary, it was then approved by the employee the same day. It was then sent to payroll. I'm presuming that's the third step. It took 10 days to approve that from there. I think we're looking for the time that it's going to take for this process to happen so people know when they can actually seem to get paid. I had a member call me last week who's taught 7 of 8 the whole year. Since January, she has not seen any of that pay. For her, it's $250 difference in a check. When she called payroll last week to say, hey, where's my money? They said to her, well, you know, it has to go through this, then it has to go through that, and you know, you might get it on March 15th. How do we tell people that? How do we we have to be able to give them a better answer.
Payroll processes them as soon as they receive them.
I can check it out on my computer right now.
February 18th was too late for today's payday, so if it's been approved, it will be March 15th.
When were the sheets sent out to payroll, to principal secretaries? Because it sounds like you sent them out the day before they were due. So when guaranteeing the 28th, there was no way that could have been met.
The MOU was signed on the 11th of February, which was the payroll deadline, right, Kim?
We were told payroll closed 5 days beforehand.
The supplement deadline was 2/11. The principal secretaries all have the schedule. So obviously payroll relies on the work sites to send in the information.
But the district said they would pay on the 28th, and that was probably after the 11th. So if they said the 28th and it was after the 11th, why would they say the 28th if it was past their deadline?
I don't know if that's accurate, so.
What When was our last bargaining session? Because that's when that's when it happened.
It was before the 11th.
No, it was February 15th.
But did we talk about the MOU on the 15th?
We
had already signed it.
We asked the question about when people would be paid, and the answer was the 28th, but the answer was given after the window had closed to process for the 28th.
That's what I don't know. Kim, can we look at the minutes? I'm not sure. If that's what was said, we're sitting here on the 28th. Everybody will be paid. I don't know what you want us to do. I'm confused. We're rehashing old things.
Yes,
I'm not sure this is a interest-based process that we're involved in right now.
I agree we are rehashing old things, but we're doing it because you made a commitment to pay after the window had closed for the date you made a commitment to. So I'm
all right. Who had the confusion on what the MOU said?
Payroll.
The original agreement that delayed everything.
Payroll, because our stance never changed. What ended up happening was our stance
All right. Is there an option to solve this problem?
I guess it's March 15th. Just like a couple of years ago when there was a delay in processing supplements and the district missed the deadline to have supplements paid out at the start of the year. There's no, we can't do anything, we can't grieve anything, just, whoops, sorry, 15th.
Approved. There's a process it has to go through, and there's deadlines that they have to follow. So if it's approved for the 15th, it'll get paid on the 15th. If it's not, we approve supplements every single payroll.
All right, let me ask this, Kim, what's the deadline for the 15th payroll? So that everybody knows that.
Supplements have to be to us by March 1st for the 3/15 payroll. So that's tomorrow. And that means employee approved, manager approved.
What about for the, can you tell us for the April 1st also, if you don't mind? Or the end of the, I'm sorry, March 30th?
3/17.
Okay. Will?
So I've talked to Kevin about this a couple of times, and I know that there's plenty of frustration to go around as it relates to this, especially the fact that we're talking about this now for like the 8th session. I think that one of the challenges in trying to diffuse or de-escalate the situation is that everyone is looking for someone to blame. Everyone is looking for someone to point the finger at. That's not going to solve the problem. If it didn't get entered in a timely manner, it can't get processed in a timely manner. There's staffing shortages in every single department. There was some miscommunication that created some of the delay that maybe pushed things to where it was difficult. I also know, and I know that this communication has gone out from payroll, that they were inundated with the number of requests. I don't think people knew how much of this was happening. Some schools are better about getting it done than others. We all know that. This is not a consistent issue at every single school. I think all we can do is continue to work through the processing of them as they are received. I share Kevin's frustration. I know that payroll does as well. There's other situations where, late submission of paperwork, creates delay. I don't know that there's anything contractually that we can do on that. I don't know, what means there are for accountability. I mean, you can't put a late fee on it. I don't know what there is more that can be done other than continue to move forward and try and get people paid as quickly as possible. And I just say that, again, not at all trying to diminish or downplay the frustration. I get it. It sucks.
Anybody else? All right, with that being said, do we need to say anything more about this, or I don't think there are any more options. Do we move on? We have a report from the Turnaround School Committee on the agenda this evening.
Okay, so I have Scott with me, so I'm gonna put him up on the big screen.
Wait a minute, Will?
I just want to say too, I think, you know, just to further acknowledge Kevin's frustration, it's not because of a promise that Kevin made. I think again, anyone who's emailing him, the same as the people that are calling payroll and cussing them out or getting into arguments with their principal secretary, there's a long chain of, you know, events in there, and so I think again, it's not fair for anyone to put it on one person.
Yeah, I would just concur with that. I had to deal with our constituents too, which includes board members. So I think we're all hearing it. And I'll be happy when this is paid on a consistent basis and everybody's covering and it's not on a bargaining agenda. So I agree.
All right. Jill, you want to bring Scott up?
So good afternoon, everybody. I'm joined with my co-chair, Scott Lee Master on Zoom. Scott, you're on the big screen. They can see you, but you can't see them. So Turnaround School Committee met twice last week. We probably worked for about, I don't know, 4 to 5 hours as a group, and then some work outside of the group. So we spent time last Tuesday working, and we had still not heard anything back about budget. And then we finally got that information, and we met again on Friday. And so what we were instructed to do was to put together a plan that worked within the same budget we've been receiving for the past few years, which is $2.8 million. After much discussion and a significant amount of frustration, because we were hoping for additional resources from ESSER to provide emergency relief for schools who received D's and F's, most likely as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. We know that adversely impacted education in so many of our schools. We put a plan together. So normally, like I said, we work with a spreadsheet and we do a lot of blind decision making. But in order to get this work done, we were not able to work 100% blindly. So in previous years, one of the things that we've discussed in Turnaround was that if a school, as the schools transition out of Turnaround and they start to improve and they start to get better grades and they start to stay consistent, that we wanted to be mindful that we didn't just pull a rug out from under those schools, that we would, tier them off of the supplement. So the first thing we did was talk about what schools we knew might not make it into a normal turnaround supplement that we've been giving, which would be $4,000. And we discussed that we wanted to give schools that maybe didn't make it into that top tier group, that we wanted to give them a $2,000 supplement. We wanted to cut it in half to support schools that had been getting it. Again, we didn't want to pull the rug out from underneath those schools. So we identified 6 schools that would not be eligible for a full turnaround supplement of $4,000. And I did my best to calculate the budget based on Will had provided me the number of TALC DRAs that these schools had as of December. I think 21st, I think it was, Will, the numbers that I had. So I worked off of those numbers to the best of my ability. And then I was able to identify 7 schools who we would be able to give a supplement of $4,000 to, which leaves us about 10 or 11 schools that are in need of emergency relief that will not be eligible for emergency relief because no additional funds have been put aside to support those schools. So I don't know the best way to put up an option. I don't know if I should list the schools that we want to give $2,000 to, the schools we want to give $4,000 to.
I think that would probably be the best way to do it, is to give us the schools, since the list is rather short. And go from there. So yeah, give us the schools that are getting $2,000, and then the schools getting $4,000, or vice versa, either way.
And this would be a recommendation for next school year, which I believe the budget year is FY23. Because of issues with COVID, we didn't want to do a 2-year recommendation. We wanted to do a 1-year recommendation. So again, I did this with the information that I had, Donna, to the best of my ability with budget.
Okay.
Before I release the names of the schools and we start putting that information up there, does anyone have any questions, any comments?
Questions, comments about what Jill has said so far? Rob?
We're going back and re-looking at this, but I'm reminded by Kelly that there could be additional money. It's just all coming out of the same pot. So it's how you want to use that money, I guess, is the point that we're making.
I understand that there's a pot of money that we're gonna, hopefully negotiate raises for FY23 and FY24. But what I find frustrating is that as a group, TALC is told, here's the money. And then we have to pick and choose priorities. And I think that when we receive a large sum of money from the government that's titled, secondary or elementary and secondary school emergency relief, we need to make sure that we're truly allocating money towards as much emergency relief as possible. And I know that Kevin has brought up, the idea that we don't always use all of our salary money, that there's other things that we can look at. And when the turnaround school tried to put a backup plan together, we were in need of only a $4 million. And when I think of, or maybe even $2 million, $2 to $4 million, when I think of that, it feels like a lot of money to me as a person. But when I look at the school district, it's not a lot of money. And I think it just comes down to our priorities. The people in schools are vital to this organization. If you drive a bus, if you are a member of SPALC and you're in a school, if you're in the instructional bargaining unit and you're in a school, if your schedule ends in a school, if you're an administrator and you are in a school, you are the most vital part of this organization. We cannot run without people in schools and on buses. We can't work from home. We don't have any other options no matter what we go through. We are the most vital. So when I think of emergency relief, I think of providing relief to the people on the front lines in our schools every single day who have to be there, who don't have any other options, because if we're not there, our kids don't get to eat, our kids don't get to school, our kids aren't safe, our kids don't learn. We are the most vital part of this organization. And I think to constantly throw it back to TALC and say, well, here's the money, you figure out what's important, you put us in a really, really difficult position to determine between giving people the raises they deserve in the midst of one of the biggest crisis we've ever faced in education and supporting schools in desperate need of relief. And so, again, the district received how many hundreds of millions of dollars, and 4 or 5 or 6 million couldn't be earmarked. Or we couldn't look for unused funds and earmark them for 1 year of emergency relief where it's needed.
Anything else? All right, do you want to put up your option you have at the moment?
Okay, so our schools that we would like to propose would be eligible for a $2,000 supplement for 1 year. Manatee Elementary, Ray V. Podorf, James Stevens International Academy, Mirror Lakes Elementary, Orange River Elementary, Sunshine Elementary.
Okay.
The schools we would like to receive a $4,000 supplement for 1 year. Fort Myers Middle Academy, Franklin Park Elementary, Tice Elementary, East Lee County High School, Colonial Elementary, Edgewood, Island Coast High School, and those, we believe those are the schools, given our budget, we believe those are the schools we can fund at those amounts.
Okay. Comments, questions, anybody needs that red mic? It's coming your way. Amy.
My question, you said for 1 year, is that for FY '22 or FY '23? And is anyone currently receiving those payments this year? And is it for all employees or just instructional staff?
So currently there are 10 schools receiving a $4,000 supplement for this year. And what we normally do, Mike, is we bring a 2-year package. So this is this year currently, so we're FY '22, right? So this year there are 10 schools receiving a $4,000 supplement, and that's the end of the 2-year package that we brought forward. So for this would be for FY '23. And the reason we decided to do 1 year was because we are concerned that there could be additional shifting of schools at the end of this year. We're not sure how things are going to move when school grades are calculated by the state again, and we wanted to make sure that we could reevaluate, because when this supplement was brought forward to us about 7 years ago, I want to say, It was explicitly designed for schools and district accountability. And so at that time, we had some schools that had the state heavily involved in the business of the school. And so we were concerned about putting a 2-year package together because we didn't know if there'd be a lot of movement. And we want to make sure in the event that schools move in an undesirable direction, we would be able to support them. And so real quick, the schools that are getting 2,000, they are currently on the list, but they would be coming off. But Fort Myers Middle, Franklin Park, East, and Colonial on the 4,000 list, they're also in our group of 10. So the 6 are on the list. They would be transitioning off because they've been performing better. But there are still 4 that are in need of a full supplement amount. Did I answer your questions?
Yes, I just want to get the year.
FY23.
And in response to which bargaining unit it is, this, I believe, is exclusively TALC because I don't tell y'all what to pay the administrators and Spout negotiates their own thing, so.
That's 1 and 4. No, 4 that still are getting the 4,000, that would use the other.
Oh. Fort Myers Middle, Franklin Park, East, and Colonial?
Yes.
Okay. Kevin.
And before we move ahead, I want to address the one pile of money issue. So for the longest time, here's your pile of money, you decide what to do with it. How much are you putting towards insurance? How much are you putting towards raises? That led to years and years of everybody sucks. My raise was 20, my insurance went up 40. Several years ago, through joint work of the insurance task force, I believe we got the district to recognize the need to put money aside exclusively for health insurance so that we no longer had to make that choice. And so again, as I talked about priorities, and we have done a very good job over the last 3 or 4 years of not raising premiums so that staff can no longer say, I got a $20 raise, but my insurance went up 40. I believe the last 3 years, we haven't raised health insurance premiums at all. And so that is because the district has prioritized the need to set money separate from our money related to raises to handling health insurance. And so again, when we talk about priorities, what's the priorities? There's also going to be a supplement committee recommendation. I still don't know the bargaining authority for supplements. And I will tell you that there's going to be a push to pay football coaches more. However, in my opinion, I love football coaches and it's great, but I would much rather differentiate the ESE supplement. Because right now, every ESE teacher, no matter what they do, only gets paid a certain thing. I would like to have some equity in the supplements for our special instructional folks. I would like to look into bringing back the master's and, specialist and PhD degree supplements that I believe we can bring back. I would like to look at those things. But as long as the district makes me choose, or makes us choose from one pile of money, you'll still get the same phone call. It went up 20, but something else went up. So again, we've done a really good job with insurance, but we need to start thinking now about specialized money for other areas that we want to involve in compensation. Because the district priority for supplements was $2.8 million. So $2.8 million gets you what you get. You can buy 700 teachers at $4,000. Right, Jill? About, right? 704 for 2.8, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 700 teachers for $4,000. So that's it. And honestly, the bargaining authority the district has for salaries hasn't been shared openly. I know, but it hasn't been shared openly. So, again, we need to talk about priorities. And if, you guys think more schools should be covered, please put some skin in the game. If you guys want tier 3 supplements, which I'm not against, please put skin in the game. Priorities.
Jill?
So what I had put up there first was our primary recommendation, but I would like to say that We've identified as a committee approximately 8 more schools, what I believe to be approximately 600 employees, 600 TALC employees, that we would like to see if the district can find a way to fund a $2,000 supplement for FY23 for those schools. And again, I don't want to put the names of the schools up there yet, because I know that can become stressful. I have the names, which I can, I don't know the best way to handle that, but we've identified approximately like 600 teachers that we would like to support, that these are schools that have a D, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And again, this would be just a one-time ask for FY23 to support 8 more additional schools if there can be funds allocated.
So do you want that as option 2?
Yes, that would be an option 2, but we're asking the district to fund this as a priority. We're hoping that this does not have to, or that this won't come out of the money that's been allocated for general salaries for TALC.
Okay. Scott, do you have anything to add to all this?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
You're welcome.
First of all, I appreciate the committee's work. They've done unbelievably great work and put a lot of time in. But speaking to the second option Jill just spoke about, for those 8 schools, we initially identified 21 schools. Obviously, you can see we narrowed it down in option 1 to 14 or 13, I believe, I'm sorry. But for those extra 8 schools, not only would it help with the possibility of retention, but for for those teachers that are on the fence about leaving a school that has had some tough times, $2,000 really might help them stay. From the principal part too, it is a recruiting tool. So I just wanted to make those points, and again, thank our committee, and also thank you for this opportunity tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Scott. Anybody else? Questions, concerns? Star design? Nothing? Any other options? Kurt?
Seeing no other discussion, I would like to make a straw design with options 1 and 2.
All right, we have straw design A, options 1 and 2. Rob?
District needs to caucus.
Okay. District needs a caucus, so Tal, you need a caucus?
Yeah, Bob says yes, so what?
Bob says yes, okay. All right, so both of you are caucusing.
Awesome, thank you, Jill.
Rob, you want to give a caucus report?
Yes, I do, and thank you. So we discussed the two options that are up there, and also one other one that would deal with language. I did want to put it out there because Kevin mentioned it, and he's right. We haven't discussed this because we haven't really talked about Article 10, compensation, but currently the district has $15.9 million authority to bargain with for a 2-year deal. So I just wanted that to be said. Having said that, our straw design would be option 1, and also another option 4, which would be relative to the language. Regarding the turnaround school committee, we would like to reconstitute that committee, and we could discuss the details of that in labor management, but that would be a desire of the district also. So our straw design would be 1 and 4. Oh, I thought there was already, there's not a 3? 1 and 3, sorry. Reconstitute the turnaround school committee.
Okay, so we have 2 straw designs.
Even though I said you didn't, yeah, her one.
Oh, Carter wants to give a caucus report. Well, we did one.
Just a very quick caucus report. We discussed the options and the straw design, but now that there's an option 3, I'm curious if you can speak a little bit more to your option. What would?
Yeah. So if you look at the language in the contract, it is 13.035. There's not really any defined numbers as to who's on the committee, like there are for other committees. We would also like to try to remove any appearances of conflict on that committee, and we know we have principals on that committee who are principals of turnaround schools, and we would like to create some semblance of neutrality, if you will.
Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
They look at the data blindly though, so I mean, except for when they had to do something this time, every other time it's a blind look at data, and so how will I be able to place people on a committee if I have to make sure they're not in a school that I don't know qualifies to be on the list? I guess is my question.
Yeah, that's a great question, because year to year we shouldn't know, right?
Right.
So I think that's why I said let's discuss this in labor management, because the devil's in the details, and how we get to that point. I think we have enough data to show that there are schools that have traditionally been at a certain level that more than highly likely they would not appear on that list.
But, yeah, I guess. I'm just concerned about committing to reconstitution and then us not being able to come to some kind of agreement about what that looks like.
So I don't want that to hold us up tonight, but I think, I could just, let's put it this way. If it's worth talking, is it worth talking about in labor management?
I think it's worth talking about in labor management, but I also think, originally this was designed for those schools who were in some danger of having the state come in and take them over. So I would say that that's a list, and then like was mentioned before, there's a tier 3 list, but I would argue that maybe the tier 3 list isn't on the other list. They're not mutually exclusively shared. And so again, I just, maybe better defining what its objective is, because I don't have a problem with tier 3 supplements either, but let's not do a tier 3 supplement, but call it the turnaround committee.
Donna, if I could.
Yep.
Yeah, I like what you just said, better defining maybe of what the role is of the committee, or adding language to the contract so we can better understand, because if you read the current language, it says the purpose is to assist in improving working conditions at the school. Well, all we're talking about right now is paying people. There's more to working conditions than just that, so I agree with you.
Yeah, and again, I think we need to highlight the idea that all the data is really blind. I mean, it just is until the last possible moment, and Jill did everything she could to not share the names of the schools on her list until the last possible moment. And so the idea of neutrality is just something where people have to understand the process. And again, I think that's on both of us with communications about not explaining to people that, listen, nobody sees a name until the very last minute. And I will agree that there seems to be a high correlation between being on the committee and getting the supplement, and that doesn't necessarily pass some people's smell test, but that's because they don't know the second part of the story. And again, turnaround committees are open to the public. Any individual in the community and in the greater world around can attend. And so I even attended one as an interested community member. So again, I think if we get out there that it's a community meeting and people should be attending, if you want to know what's going on, like Insurance Task Force, come to the Insurance Task Force. We're going to try to make it as easy as possible. So.
Okay, so I'm willing at this point, with some commitment to discuss this at labor management, to put our straw design, I guess it's straw design C at this point, right? You have A, which was KERS.
Option 1 and 2, B, options 1 and 3.
And then C, option 1.
C would be just option 1.
So I have a question. Option 1 sticks with the original $2.8 million and doesn't allocate any additional funding for the other schools.
Correct. That was your math, right, Jill? The 13 schools.
Yes, that was my math to the best of my ability. I just want to remind everyone here that I'm a social studies teacher, so to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
All right. With that caveat, we have 3 different straw designs. Options 1 and 2, options 1 and 3, and option 1. I hear any other options, or anybody need any clarifications on any of those 3 options? And I don't think, we were talking in the room while you guys were practicing, I don't think that we ever talked about interest for this particular committee. So if you want to put up interest, we can do that before we decide on a straw design. We were talking in the other room. I don't think we ever did interest specifically for turnaround committee. Did we? Did we do it? The February 7th minutes? I wasn't here February 7th, so I don't know, but.
The last time this was talked about was there.
Right, we did snapshots, but I pulled those tonight already.
Can we please have a 5-minute caucus in the hall?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And please come get us at 5 minutes.
And I will look for the article while you're gone. committees. Kerr?
Sure, Donna, thank you. And thank you for waiting, for our additional caucus. We just further discussed the 3 straw designs, and a question or two came out of caucus. So I'm going to pass this down to Tina.
All right, the questions about one of the options?
Option 1.
Option 1.
About option 1, I believe. All right, I just want to clarify one thing. Rob, I heard you say, one of the things I want to clarify. You have 15.9 million for a 2-year deal for compensation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And
Reoccurring funds, yes.
all right. So one of my clarifying questions, I just want to make sure that the 2.8 million that we're talking about allocating for option 1, that is not coming out of this 15.9, correct?
Correct.
All right. And for option 2, if we can get funds for option 2, you're saying those funds would have to come out of that 15.9?
It'd have to come from somewhere, so it could come from there or somewhere else, potentially.
Can I ask where the somewhere else?
Well, sure, it'd be ESSER funding, but that would also impact what we would have to pay the teacher planning, which is not indefinite, as we know, if we were to run out of money. Or, I know we're talking about retention bonus, so potentially it would come out of that.
All right, then I'm going to go on the record and say that I am terribly disappointed that we cannot, somewhere in this county, come up with some extra money to pay these teachers in option 2 to be able to stay in those schools and fight like hell for these kids.
Well, Donna, I didn't say we couldn't. You just asked where the money would come from.
But you're having to take it out of one pot to give it to another. I get that happens, but it shouldn't be coming out of the teacher compensation budget, in my opinion.
All right, so I did find the article, this is under Article 10, this particular committee. So I did find the snapshot we did back in January. So the interests we came up with were transparency, in years experience, that has to do with something else, equity, employee morale, recruitment, retention, respect and fairness for all pay schedule, grandfather and annual, manageability, compliance, affordability, and competitive competition were our interests for this. Or all of Article 10, actually. But this was on the list for Article 10, turnaround schools. So, with that.
Jill has a question.
Yes, Jill.
So I know we talk about for that second option of the additional schools, is there like unused salary dollars from this year that could be reallocated to about, I mean, is it, to do option 2 for 1 year?
We have an answer?
I think I provided where the money's coming from, so, and I looked at Kelly and she shook her. We may not have.
We may not have any bargaining authority.
So,
No, not cutting out.
we may not have a bargaining authority above the amount you're talking about. I'm not sure how that would impact us.
Okay. So, any other questions, Kerr?
I'd like to call to test option 1.
Option 1 was option A was options 1 and 2. That's 1?
No, just option 1.
Oh, just options, start design C, option 1. All right, so we have a call to test option, start design C. It's about the interest, and if we can agree, live with, or disagree with option C.
Here, we will show you what option one is. So it looks like,
It's the 13 schools,
right,
and the 2,000 and the 4,000?
yep,
Okay.
yep. All right, looks like everybody's thumb is in the right direction. So, it looks like we have an agreement. Option one. All right, now you're gonna have to give us a second to switch all these papers around. And, the next thing I see on the agenda, if you want to start thinking about it, is retention bonus with ESSER funds.
So Jill, do you have to relinquish the screen? How do I throw something up on the screen? Because I'm not real smart.
Jill has to stop presenting, I think, first.
Bye, Scott. You good?
That's why we only did, that's why we only, yes, but that's why we only do a 1 year rule, because we don't know what's gonna happen with school grades this year. So we didn't want to lock in. We had no at-schools years before. This year we had 18 schools, 3 of them were Fs, the rest of them were Ds. So we didn't want to lock into the 2-year deal.
Okay, Kevin, you're working on getting something up on the screen?
I am.
All right,
As quickly as I
That's
can.
the question.
okay.
Yeah, fine.
I'm gonna get you.
Anytime you're ready.
I have to send it to Jill because FDA won't let me do what I need to do.
Okay.
All right, Jill.
Do we need to put something up on the, yeah.
Okay.
Are you giving a presentation?
What's that?
Are you giving a presentation?
I'm putting a spreadsheet out. I don't think that qualifies as a presentation. Qualifies as somebody with limited ability, extending themselves beyond what they can do. All right.
All right, you're probably gonna have to make that a little larger.
So as we talk about retention bonus, I need to ask a specific question. My brothers and sisters in Spalk agreed to $2,000 the other day. So is it reasonable to assume that that would be an excellent starting point for us?
All right, Rod, you have an answer?
It's an excellent point, starting or finishing. But yes,
So when we brought up the idea of $4,000 for everybody, it was remarked that it cost $29 million. And I'm going to tell you, when I was a kid, I never thought I'd be asking for $29 million with a straight face. But anyway, it cost $29 million.
it's your left-handed pitcher.
Well, yeah. So because you already have set aside $2,000 for everybody, we really don't need $29 million to make 4,000. We need 14.5, roughly 14.5 in what Bonnie would describe as Bonnie math. And so, and I guess this goes to the next question of, kind of how this works, because what I have done is I have put aside every amount for instructional salaries that the school district of Lee County told the state they budgeted for the last 5 years. I then put in the actual column the amount of money you actually reported to the state that you spent on instructional salaries. The one for 21-22 is projected because we're not done spending. I kind of also did a 5-year average of how well we were at spending the amount of money we budgeted. And so down here, so in 2021, it was 84%, 89%, 89%, and 92%. So you spent, in 17-18, you spent 92% of the money you put aside for salaries at the end of the year. And so I did the 4-year average, and it got me to 89, and that's what I did here on the differences. I just figured 89, it's a good 4-year average, but honestly, I think this year is going to look more like last year than it did 17-18, but whatever, 89. All right, so that means that this school year there should be an over budgeting of $38 million. Last year there was an over budgeting of $52 million. The year before that there was an over budgeting of $32 million, then $33 million, then $22 million. And so then I said, well, who else gets paid? So I looked at school level administrators, and same thing, the budget, what you actually reported to the state, and then the difference per year and the percentage of the amount of money you said you spent. So you're excellent at projecting and spending school-based administrators' salaries. You're reasonably okay at doing this, and I understand there are far more TALC employees in the bargaining unit than there are administrators, and you've got a formula to figure out exactly how many administrators, like Ben has 2, Carl may have 5, So they're a little more fixed numbers than kind of a fluid teacher thing, right? And yeah, there are usually more vacancies with us. So again, here's the difference. And so this is what it would look like had you been as accurate with school-based employees, with TALC bargaining unit employees, as you were with administrators. So it would be 340 this year, 332, 313, 308, 291. So when I think Christina asked about where the money is coming from, I see Kelly taking the mic, so I'm just going to ask, because these are your numbers, and so I guess the first question is, are they accurate, or am I not understanding something?
So there's a little bit more to it than what you're seeing right here. So, we budget under the district resource allocation, right? So every school gets an allocation based on their weighted FTE. When we are in doing the budget and when we have to report it to the state, we still have not gotten all of the files back from the schools and spread all of the money throughout. So everything starts in the school's budgets in a 5,100 area for them to then give to us to allocate out. So when you take the adopted budget and you're looking at that versus the actuals, throughout when we start getting those files back from the schools, and then we start spreading it, that money then gets moved from that 5,100 out to other functions and other objects. That's how we have to do it. By the time I have to give my information to the state, get it board approved and everything to get to the state, I haven't finished allocating all of this stuff from the schools at that point. So it is going to look like it's higher because of the way that we do the allocations. We also allocate based on an average teacher salary, and there will be, again, because there are vacancies, we will have differences more than you would see in an administrator. We don't have as many vacancies in administrators, so you'll definitely see that, better numbers there. But the biggest piece of that has to do with the way that we do our allocations to schools at the beginning of the year.
Right, so let's say school gets 100 DRAs, that has a value, correct? So you give them the money to pay the DRAs. Let's say they only fill 90 of the 100 positions. I think we all can agree that they have money left over. So where does that money go at the end of the year? And how much money currently has the district not spent on actual salaries that they've allocated due to the vacancies?
Okay, so most schools do not have extra allocations sitting there throughout the year. They allocate it out. It may not be for a teacher. They may use it for a counselor. They may use it for something else. So very few schools have money actually sitting that they did not allocate. So you're not going to see a whole lot of unallocated dollars. What you'll see is throughout the year that money moving from the instruction, the 5,100, into other functions of where they're putting them, whether they're buying support, paras, or something like that. It's going to move throughout. And if you're asking me where it stands right now, I would have to go back and pull numbers.
So if there's an open position at a school for an entire year, since August, and they were given the position in August. So in August, they said you get 5 math teachers to your DRA, right? One of those is never filled. So there's money in a DRA that was allocated because I'm just going to use your own presentation against you. The only place where there's not a shortage is in district level administrators. So that was in your presentation. So again, when the position is unhired for the whole year, but it's still on the books, where does that money reside? And at the end of the year, if the position isn't hired, where does that money go? Because I've also noticed the fund balance when budgeted is really good. And then the fund balance in the actual is a little better. So I'm just trying to figure out, and again, I don't know what the requirement is, but I think we can probably find the money we need to do the 4,000 in over budgeting and unspent salaries. And if you have to ask the board, can you reallocate unspent salary money to this? Would you be willing to do that? And this is one line item. There are several two line items. This doesn't include the benefit portion of instructional salaries, and it also doesn't include the purchase services part of instructional salaries. And so this is like 2 snapshots of the big budget. And so, I mean, I can have ready for next time exactly how much is budgeted and spent in every kind of line. But again, I think there's money left over. And I'm just, I just think there is. And so, if you need to ask the board to come up with the other half of our ask for $4,000, would you be willing to do it? Because you seem to imply that to handle Tina's thing, you would have to go back to the board. So would you be willing to do that? And if they said yes, where are we at? And I know you can't answer that right now. And you will be lucky if, other than the fact, are you willing to go before the board and ask them for that, to reallocate that unspent money towards retention bonuses for teachers? And so that's the first question.
So I can tell you that as we do the budget, that money that was unspent gets reallocated throughout the budget. It's not just sitting in a pot somewhere. So it's reallocated out through the budget to cover things and needs throughout the year.
But you get new money every year.
Yes, but if you look at the cost, the increase in retirement, and you look at growth, we far exceed in those items what we get from the state every year.
Okay. So, question, will you ask the board if you can reallocate, again, our priorities and interests are for recruitment and retention. So will you be willing to ask the board if they would reallocate any unspent dollars this year for a non-reoccurring bonus? Because I'm with you, I don't want to spend non-reoccurring funds on reoccurring outlays. That gets you in trouble very quickly. So again, non-reoccurring bonus for funds that are that are left over.
I would have to give this to our chief negotiator to talk back through that one.
Perfect.
And Rob.
I think there's the ability to discuss a retention bonus without answering that question. So
if we were agreed to a retention bonus, we would still come back at the next session and want to talk about what to do for the first semester.
Well, I think that could be part of this conversation about a retention.
I'm just going to tell you $2,000 won't get it.
I recognize that.
Okay, so again, in order to have this conversation and include both of those things, you may need to get more money. And so, you may need to get more, in fact, you do need to get more money because you need an extra 14.5.
Well, I think we know the source of where that money for a bonus will come from. So whether we need to go for board approval for something, I can tell you that we have the ability to use ESSER funds under the current authority we have.
And so we need to talk about ESSER funds and where $331 million is going. Because the new coverage language we negotiated, we understood it to be from ESSER funds, and we didn't ask, well, how much of the ESSER funds?
Yeah.
But we certainly didn't assume it was $330 million.
No, I think.
So to disclose tonight, it's 9, and it may not get us to the end of the school year. So when we're looking to the 14.5, where in the rest of that $320 million would that be coming from in ESSER?
We have the authority to use some of those funds for non-reoccurring compensation.
Okay. So is there enough, without damaging any of our other priorities, from ESSER money to take the 14.5 out of there?
Yes, with a caveat. ESSER 3, regarding stabilization funds, has not been entirely approved yet by the state. We anticipate it will be, just like the others have been, but I have to say that. Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
But again, I think we can develop, and I've spoken to Will about this, develop a plan where, it's not 4,000 tomorrow. It's certainly 75% of it very quickly, but it's not 4,000 tomorrow. And honestly, the plan I have kind of addresses higher date as well. So, because part of this money addresses first semester, if you weren't here for the first semester, you may not be entitled to all 4. If you were here for half of it, you're entitled to a little less. And so again, I appreciate you not wanting to spend money you don't have. But, as part of a kind of stopgap or, kind of move money around, because I know sometimes money is moved from here to there to cover this. And I'm a teacher. I've lived paycheck to paycheck, so I understand paying this bill today to pay that bill tomorrow. And so I'm sure with a state that ranks very low in per pupil spending, there probably is some of that goes on. So, all right. So that's, all right. So
You have an option now.
I do have an option, but is it option? I think it's the forever missing option 19 with perhaps some modifications. And I say that because it was listed on like 3 sets of minutes as see option 19, but I don't think anybody has laid a finger on it yet.
What option is it?
So it's a $4,000 one-time payment.
Option 19.
Option 19, am I not saying it right? What is option 19?
Option 19.
Are you trying to make a point that they can't find option 19?
It's dealing with ESSER funding.
Right. And
So it's option 19.
it's from January 4th? I think Will has a question too.
Yeah.
So I have an option 19 somewhere. If we start with just option 1 for tonight, we can figure out where it needs to be.
Two option 19s or needing to go option 20.
Option 1 for the February 28th meeting for this heading.
So it's
Let's do the option.
it's up to $4,000 with $3,000 of it being paid as soon as possible. That's implementation, right?
Correct.
March 15th, Anna needed to be put in 2 days ago. As soon as possible, with another $1,000 being paid at the end of the school year. And so the caveat on the first semester is if you were an employee during the first 9 weeks and the second 9 weeks, you would get $2,000 from the first semester, $1,000 for retention, and then $1,000 at the end of the school year. If you were only a second 9 weeks employee, you would get $1,000 for the second 9 weeks, $1,000 for retention, so $2,000 instead of the $3,000, and then $1,000 at the end of the school year. If you are a brand new employee and didn't do any work in the first semester, for which some of this is due, Amy needs to write.
Amy is falling behind. You're going a little too fast. So, Amy, what did you get last?
I have up to 4,000 with 3,000 in paid ASAP, last 1,000 at the end of the school year. And then even on about first and last and third 9 weeks.
I certainly do.
Those are examples.
So if you're an employee for the first 2 9 weeks, you would get the $3,000 as soon as possible. And then if you're still an employee,
Hold on.
sorry,
First 2 9 weeks. With the
$3,000 as soon as possible. And then $1,000 at the end of the school year if you're still an employee. I'm going to wait till I see your hand stop.
Go.
If you started work during the second 9 weeks, you would get $2,000 as soon as possible. And then $1,000 at the end of the school year if you're still employed. If you got hired in the second semester.
There's more. I have a piece of paper here if you need it.
Second semester, you would get $1,000 as soon as possible and $1,000 at the end of the school year if you're still employed with the district. To be paid, on that final paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, do we need to read that back?
I think Rob had a question.
I know.
Do we need to read it back first?
Yeah, because it's perfectly clear.
Okay.
Good luck to everybody else.
I got it.
Okay. A few things, and these are not addressing what Kevin just put up there, but they are. First thing is, obviously we have an interest in doing some type of bonus structure with TALC. It's not clear, as you know, last year, Governor DeSantis provided teachers with $1,000. I think that's been proposed again this year. So that conversation is something maybe we need to enter into. Not saying we have to, but there were teachers that last year, if you got the $1,000, you didn't get the $1,000 from the district. Also, as we sit here on essentially the precipice of March 1st, there's only, and I know you all know, so please tell me, there's how many weeks of school left? 10? Maybe? How many?
56 days, but nobody's counting.
56 student days left, so structuring a bonus structure to retain people for the rest of this year, in some fashion, I agree, is laudable. We have an interest in people showing back up in August. So we would like to discuss how we get this bonus to help us have teachers return on August 10th or whatever day they come back. So I'm just throwing those things out there.
And I think, Jill has an option for that. But I think more to your first point with the governor and his, because, it was some teachers not all teachers. And so I think if we had, but again, I think that's, and I'm going to be honest with you, he wasn't spending his money. He was spending other people's money, which is always nice. So I think we do need to have a discussion about what happens. I'm not sure if that proposal has any real momentum, because if you've looked at the budgets for the House and the Senate, they are, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, they are extremely generous and might be the best budgets in 10 years. And so just like when they did away with the A+ money and ran it into TSIA money, the House and the Senate may very well say, we appreciate the $1,000, but we're giving so much more money over here in the budget. But I think we do need to address the idea that we would come in, if the governor were to engage in this selective compensation scheme, that we would have an interest in kind of rewarding those people. But I think that might be separate from this. And again, I'm going to turn it over to Jill for the August option. And then Tina, I think, has a question. Oh, Tina had her hand up first.
It may be the same thing. Go ahead, Jill.
I think that if you want teachers back on August 10th, really it's August 2nd, just I'm gonna need $1,000 on August 2nd. But you get my point, like, I know we don't get paid on August 2nd, but if you wanna bring people back, not only do I think we need to think about like a welcome back supplement concept, maybe that's not what we call it, but I know that we're running out of time in this bargaining session. But we really need to start addressing working conditions. That, I think, is hitting us harder than salary. And I think the difficult thing maybe is I don't know which one's hitting us the hardest. It just depends on what day of the week it is. But our working conditions, I think, are extremely outdated. 25 minutes for lunch, barely enough time to eat, have a break. Lack of access to a bathroom, lack of access to breaks, the idea that we're just expected to work, answer emails on the weekends, deal with all the student issues, constant change coming from the district about how you're supposed to organize your Google Classroom, and the expectation that we should just take assignments whenever they're completed by the students. Our working conditions need to be addressed if we are serious about retaining people. Not only do we have to start, I think, paying teachers what they're worth, again, the people in the schools, and I mean TALC, SPALC, Schedule N, administrator, and our bus drivers, we are the most vital part of this district, but our working conditions are, I don't even have a word for it. I mean, it's like the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory sometimes.
All right, thank you, but at the moment, we are working on compensation, so Christina?
Jill took some of my comments, but my first comment is that Governor DeSantis' money is not guaranteed at this point. This is the money we're talking about from the county. And in addition to that, this is being compensated for what we're doing this year. 99% of us are going to be showing up again August 2nd. I know I'm one of them, but I sure as hell deserve that money for this year. And I know the teachers in my building do as well. And as far as August goes, I'm like Jill, I'll take another $1,000 come August 2nd.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Rob? Oh.
I would just go back to our interests. I don't know where they are, but I suspect retention is one of them. And if you could guarantee me 99% of the teachers are going to return in August, man, I would really be happy if that were true. But I'm concerned about that. And I think anybody in the human resources business right now is concerned about people showing up the next day. So retention is an important part of this, and I think that's why we have to play into that interest. So with that,
I have an option. So the option would be a $2,000 bonus as soon as possible, $1,000 at the end of the first semester next year, and $1,000 at the end of the second semester next year. So $4,000 over the next year and a half, and I think Bob is retiring before then.
All right. Go ahead.
So my question is, are we then going to talk about compensation for coverage for first semester? Because I know you're already giving a $2,000 to spell for bonus, right? So teachers were covering for other teachers first semester and we didn't get paid for it. So
The teachers were paid at the old rate. Teachers just covered for free? I mean, weren't we paying supplements, Kim, for the first semester? Yes.
Actually, I covered every day until December 7th. Every single day, I covered in the classroom. I never got paid anything extra.
What school are you at? You should talk to your principal and your principal's secretary.
I'm actually a math coach, but math coaches weren't.
Coach, okay.
We weren't under that. However, I made lesson plans. I taught every single day. I had to take my work home, do my coaching stuff, and get it prepared at home, just to be able to do my job and come out for these kids every single day. And obviously, I wasn't in the same class every day. So I might be teaching first grade today. I might teach fourth grade next day. I might teach fifth grade the next morning. I just had to be where I needed to be, and I never got compensated at all. So,
Donna, the topic is retention bonus. So now we're getting back to talking about the MOU.
Bob's hand up before about the other issue. So, Bob?
Yeah, I don't think that right now we should be just mainly focusing on retention. And I don't think that's what our goal was. I think our goal was to get money in the hands of the teachers as fast as we can. I mean, back in December, we came to a consensus on how they were going to get paid. In January, it was messed up. February was supposed to get fixed. Tomorrow's March 1st. Everybody here is getting the exact same pay they got at the beginning of the year. No one's got an extra nickel since the beginning of the year. We've got to come up with money right now for teachers to get it in their pockets. And whether or not it's $3,000 right up front now and $1,000 at the end, I don't want to talk about next year. The ESSER money is emergency secondary school relief fund or something to that effect. Emergency relief. And that's what it is. This is an emergency relief. And right now we've been doing, I mean, everybody here tonight has been saying the same thing for the past, I don't know how many sessions we've been at, where we've got to get money in the hands of the teachers. And we tried to do it with the coverage. That hasn't worked. And right now we have the opportunity with ESSER money to be able to give the teachers their, whether you want to call it a bonus, a supplement, or whatever, but it's more than just a retention. It's rewarding them for what they've done since August. And I think that we've got to come to a consensus very, very soon, whether it's within the next 10 minutes or whether or not it's at the next session, that we've got to come up with with some kind of scheme where we're going to be putting money in the hands of the teachers. And by doing that, we're working on retention. We don't have to wait till next year on retention. It's kind of like, waiting way too long before, these teachers that they deserve some money in their pockets. I mean, since August, they haven't got an extra nickel.
I just proposed $2,000 as soon as possible, so you're suggesting that we're thinking about it.
We were at
Okay. We were in an entirely different place as recently as 2 sessions ago regarding a bonus. So, I mean, we're just proposing a structure that serves the interests of not just management, but the teachers. The idea is to have a teacher in every classroom. So paying teachers a bonus to come back next year doesn't seem like it should be such a foreign concept. The fact that we're willing to say, tomorrow, if we approve this, we can pay you $2,000 within the next, I don't even want to go there. That's how we started the session. Kevin's looking at me. But my point is, we're at $4,000. We weren't even close to that a couple of sessions ago. So I think we need to think about that. I am all for putting as much money as we can in your pockets. I get that. But I don't think attaching this to coverage in the first semester is going to help us get to the point that we're trying to get to. And I appreciate Kevin's option, although I have to really look at it again to understand it. But we're interested in 2,000 now, 1,000 in the future, 1,000 in the future, having nothing to do with the $15.9 million authority we have for reoccurring pay or salaries. This is strictly this is non-reoccurring funds. And I would point out that ESSER is over 3 years. It's not just immediate. The federal government didn't say this has to be used immediately. So to sort of answer to Bob's point that this is emergency relief, I mean, we're allowed to try to help the district, not just now, but a little bit in the near future.
Okay, Bob? Oh, Jill, I'm sorry.
So I feel the need that we need to retain everyone that we can. That is an important priority, because if you're in a school that's understaffed, you're feeling that every day with coverage and not even with coverage, the impact that vacant positions or high teacher absence, I think when I think about that as a teacher, I don't even think about it for coverage. I think of how that impacts the behavior of my students during the day and how that impacts the learning of my students every day. Because if they go to 2 classes before mine where there's a vacancy and a guest teacher, they haven't had structure for the first 2.5 hours of the day. And now they come into a classroom that is very structured and has very specific standards for their behavior. And then they go to another class that's not like that. Having open positions and high teacher absence, I think, adversely impacts students so much more, which directly impacts our day and makes our day more stressful and more difficult to manage. Kevin's plan essentially was saying, hey, 1,000 per quarter. And so when we want to talk about retaining people, I appreciate that the district is bringing a proposal forward, but with the state of things in our schools, I'm worried that even if you came up with a $4,000 plan for this year, that wouldn't be enough. Because I think that nationwide, not just Lee County, nationwide, teachers are walking out. And the scary thing, or the thing that I can't wrap my head around, is they're walking out with no job, no backup plan. They're just so done, they don't care, they'll figure it out. And so when we want to say $1,000 for first semester for this year, and then $1,000 at the end, and then $1,000 in December, and then I just don't know if that's enough. It's not, because honestly, come spend a couple weeks in a school for 7.5 hours a day. Shadow a teacher. I fill a vacancy. It's hard. It's hard to get up in the morning to go to work every day. And every school's in a different place. Every school is facing different challenges. And it's overwhelming. We're exhausted. We talk about self-care. We can't take care of ourselves because we're so, I spend my weekends sleeping. I'm emotionally beaten down and drained. And I ask myself every day, how much longer can I do this? How much longer can I tolerate the disrespect and the behavior issues in the name of trauma from COVID-19? And I am not the only educator in this room, in this district, or in this nation that is on the verge of giving up every day, but finds the strength to keep going. So if we want to recruit and retain, I don't think $2,000 is enough, because people are walking out with no backup job. So what's $2,000 going to do when you're ready to walk and you're just not even concerned about how you're going to pay your bills?
All right, we are at 6:58, and I see way too many hands that are not going to be done in 2 minutes. So it is going to be up to you. If you want to stay beyond 7 and get the rest of the speakers out, or come back next time and continue this conversation.
I literally have a yes or no answer question, please.
All right, I saw Kevin.
Yeah, she can answer yes or no.
All right.
All right, just a quick question might help us move forward. Rob, is this money you're proposing here, is this the same money that, or type of money that we were talking about using to pay teachers for what they, being here in first semester and taking care of business in first semester, or is this to retain them for next year only? Is it the same pot of money, I should ask? Thank you.
You said it was yes or no, so
Yes or no?
I can't answer it yes or no.
Is it the same pot of money? Are we gonna talk about?
This is ESSER money.
Okay. Kevin, quick.
Yeah, look. I think we should respect the timeline and the parameters around bargaining.
I agree.
Everybody here has done whatever they do for the district all day long, and it is a Monday. And so, yeah, I think we respect the 7 o'clock, and we'll get back to this next time.
All right, we will start at this point next time. That's lots of work to think about, and then we can hopefully move forward the next meeting. So have a good rest of your evening, and see you.